Hi everyone, I thought I might put up a short video on how to get a fast time on this week's daily A race on Gran Turismo 7. This week we have the 1997 Honda Civic Type R on Laguna Seca. And if you haven't seen my track guide on Laguna Seca, it might be a good idea to check that video out after this one because it goes into much more detail than I'm going to go into here. Right, let's get into it. And the first thing to note is that the 1997 Honda Civic has a whopping 176 brake horsepower, which is not particularly impressive, but also explains why you need to rev the absolute crap out of this thing to get what speed out of it you possibly can. So you'll see in the first tip right here at the beginning of the lap, which is to rev the car all the way out to 9,000 RPM, which is around 102 kilometers an hour, before changing into third gear. Similarly, from third to fourth is exactly 151 kilometers per hour. And this seems to make a reasonable difference in such a low-powered car. Now, on the first corner, as described in the track guide, you can utilize the edge of the track, the extra track area, and the braking point in the car is exactly on the white line there at the 300-meter marker. Apply full braking pressure and drop down to second gear. Stay nice and tight on the hairpin and moderate the throttle on exit to ensure you don't slide wide. Be careful that you don't hit the sausage, which is something that I might mention a few times in this video. Again, we want the magic 102 kilometers per hour before changing gears and move across to the ripple strip on the left. The black marks on the ripple strip are a useful marker, or if you can't see that, there's the rainwater drain just to the left of the track. And now we're going to discover one of the secrets of how to be fast in the Honda Civic. When you take your foot off the accelerator, this car has a tendency to oversteer, which means the back of the car actually slides out. So sometimes a bit of oversteer is useful in getting the car to turn into the corner, but excessive slide will lose too much time as the car struggles to recover. Remembering, of course, the massive amount of power that this car has available to pull itself out of a huge slide. So there's two ways to control lift-off oversteer. One is to lift off the accelerator very smoothly, and the other method is to apply a balancing throttle input along with the braking input. And this takes a bit of practice, but it's worth getting good at. Actually, I find it's useful to divide my brain into two and consider that the front of the car and the rear of the car are controlled separately. The front is controlled via my right foot and the back via my left foot, and then put the front and the back of the car wherever you want by modulating your left and right feet accordingly. So as you can see, as we progress around the corner, and after I'm sure that I've got the correct line, the braking input progressively reduces, whilst at the same time the accelerator input progressively increases. And this keeps the engine revs up as well and minimizes the body roll so you can push the most out of what traction you've got available. Oh, and don't hit the sausage. Actually, I should mention that it is possible to straddle this sausage, and it sometimes is faster that way, but it's also risky because if you hit it full on, then it can throw you off the track. Now again, on turn 4, you can utilize the ripple strip and the balancing throttle technique, and don't hit the sausage. Be sure to rev the car all the way to the 151 or 2 kilometers per hour before changing gears, and once again, use the ripple strip on the right hand side along with the 200 meter mark as your braking marker. And this is quite a long corner, so you'll want to be sure that the transition into the braking zone is super smooth. And you'll see they'll actually start to apply the brake around the 250 meter mark even before releasing the accelerator. And then smoothly release the accelerator and wash off some speed before changing down into third gear. Use the 2-foot balancing technique as you steer the car towards the apex and try to maintain a minimum speed of around 100 kilometers per hour, or in my case, 98. Don't hit the sausage. Now the Honda Civic needs to get to around 6,500 RPM before it will release the full awesomeness of its power. So that means in third gear, there's a bit of a lag as you exit turn 5, and also why it's therefore critical to maximize your corner speed and get on the accelerator as early as possible. Coming into turn 6 is pretty standard stuff for Laguna Seca. There's many ways you can take this corner, and it's all a matter of personal choice. Usually letting off the accelerator or a little bit of light braking around the 200-meter mark is a good idea. And in this case, I actually managed to keep the accelerator pinned all the way to the top of the hill and just after turning in. But that comes at the cost of needing to apply some brake on the downside of the hill to avoid sliding off the track. Don't hit the sausage. Again, this sausage can be straddled, and it may be slightly faster, but it's super risky. Now, actually, I've managed to put in a decent lap time without straddling the sausage, so it's probably not worth the risk, particularly in an actual race. However, you should practice the straddling line in case you're forced into it by opponents in a race, if they think they can go 2 or 3 wide around that corner. Anyway, up the Raha straight and utilizing the green stuff, remembering to rev the car all the way to 9,000 RPM. And actually you'll notice that it barely makes it over 150 even after changing gears, so it is kind of pointless really, but you have to. And now for the famous corkscrew, definitely the most renowned feature of the track and covered in great detail in my previous Laguna Seca track guide, which I'll link in the description. Needless to say, brake just before the white line in the extra track area and utilize the extra track fully. Now, whilst you can put both left wheels fully onto the ripple strip, you must be sure to get at least one part of a wheel back over the white line before the end of the extra track, or else you'll get a penalty. Drop it down to second gear and brake fully, and then use the 2-foot technique to start the front of the car pulling forwards as early as possible. On the left, you must keep some part of the wheel on the track side of the white line. Whack it up into third gear as the car jumps over the hill and keep some part of the left wheel on the track side of the white line to avoid a penalty. Again, in the track guide, there's a little tip about using the corner markers so you can see where you're aiming for on that corner. Turn 9 is tricky and there are several lines through here, so watch the track guide and use the 2-foot technique. Don't hit the sausage. Turn 10 needs a lot of dual foot action and don't hit the sausage! For the final turn, you'll brake it around 250 meters with full braking, then let the brake off slowly as you turn in and apply a gradually increasing amount of balancing accelerator. Don't hit the sausage.